The video you're about to see is a short video that I made 4 years ago on the kind of dance of decorating the Christmas tree. It's wild because I made this video the very first few weeks after I had moved into our new home, after our house was flooded in 2019. And so it was a particularly touching moment because we redecorated our Christmas tree in our home again, which was a big deal for our family. Every year we would do that. So please enjoy.
This is Jonathan Peugeot. Welcome to the Symbolic World. So the activity of decorating a Christmas tree is one which most families will engage in during, the upcoming towards Christmas. When you have young kids, it's actually the most fun. Now my kids are getting a little older and they're a little blasé about decorating the Christmas tree. But when your kids are, like 6, 7, 8, around that age, it's a blast to decorate the Christmas tree together. And it's also kind of shows you how reality works. And you see this kind of balance that needs to come about between order and, let's say, heaven and earth, between order and improvisation, between the regular and the irregular. And so I've already talked about the symbolism of the Christmas tree per se. You can check that out if you're interested in it. Here it's mostly about how the actual decorating of the tree. And so, especially if you do it as a family, you really get that experience. And so you can imagine, for example, because you've seen Christmas trees, all the time, and you've seen beautiful Christmas trees, and you've seen ugly Christmas trees. And what makes a Christmas tree beautiful, and what makes it off somehow? And we've all had that experience of seeing a Christmas tree which is off. And often it's usually off because it looks too chaotic, where all the ornaments don't fit together. All the ornaments there's too much space between the ornaments. There's too much, there's some places where they're too close together, other places where there's too much space, where from one side it looks really nice, but then when you kind of turn, you see that it doesn't look very good from the other side. And so that is obviously one version of what makes the Christmas tree not look so nice. There's also the possibility of a Christmas tree being too perfect, of everything being lined up perfectly and everything, you can imagine that you can almost see bands in it coming down of ornaments. You see that sometimes in stores, they kind of push that too much, but you definitely don't want something like that for your home Christmas tree because there is a lacking of homey feeling, like you're lacking that sense of comfort, you could say, that comes from a giving in to idiosyncrasy, And so you can imagine, for example, a Christmas tree that only has just glass balls and they're all perfect and they all kind of come down, and you don't want that. So the Christmas tree ends up being a balance between the different aspects of the very shiny glass ball ornament, but then also the ribbon which goes around the tree. And the ribbon which goes around the tree, if it's too perfect, it won't look right. You have to find that balance. And the balance often happens in a very interesting way as you're actually doing it. And so when you start putting ornaments in the tree, you start to create patterns. And the patterns kind of reveal themselves as you're decorating it. You put up an ornament here, and then you realize that if you have several ornaments that are the same, you don't want the next ornament to be too close to that one, but you don't also want it to be too far. So you find a space that's kind of close enough, far enough, not on the same line, but not too far. And then you kind of create this pattern, which is orderly, but also is organic at the same time. Then you have another ornament that you come and you want to now add to that one that you had put in before. you start to add the ornament, and then you start to want to balance it out with the ornament which is already there. So you end up creating a kind of balancing act between what is already there and what is added, what is new. You want it to fit in. You don't want it to stand out so much that it calls attention to itself completely. You want the new ornament that now you're adding to what's already there to be in a harmonious whole with the others, but also not completely vanish and still have a say, still have something which makes you able to see it. And so you put on the ornaments. And when you're doing it together, this is when it becomes very fascinating, because it also becomes an exercise in family unity, because people have a slightly different way of understanding how, let's say, balanced or how imbalanced, how orderly or how improvisational the tree has to look. And also even the level of attention that you're wanting to put into the tree. And so you'll have someone who will come in and just put the ornaments no matter where they are, and they think it's fine. Like they think it's okay that way. It's not, it's good enough, you could say. And then for someone else, they might want to spend, hours and hours fiddling with each ornament in order to make it absolutely perfect. And when you're dealing with several people, you have to be careful. You have to find the same balance that's in the Christmas tree. You have to find among the people that are decorating the tree as well. Because if the person who wants too perfect a Christmas tree nitpicks too much and keeps taking the ornaments that other people are placing in the tree and replacing them, at some point the friction is going to start to appear. And the same goes the other way. If the person who just wants to get it over with, move on to something else, just throws them in there and then just wants to leave, they'll also prick the person who cares about it more and wants the Christmas tree to be beautiful. And so what you end up seeing is this dance between the different people, where someone will put an ornament somewhere and then maybe someone else will have a small reaction which is like, maybe it doesn't go there. And so you end up moving it a little bit. And, maybe once in a while when someone's not looking, you'll take the ornament that they put and you'll just change the place of where it is, and that is really a representation of just how the world lays itself out, because the patterns of the world have to adapt themselves to the circumstance in which they're manifesting themselves. And so, whatever pattern it is, whether it's a law, whether it's an aesthetic pattern, like, the building of a house, you want to build a house a certain way, but you have to take into account, the place where you are. You have to take into account the different aspects, whether there's a tree there, whether the other houses, what they look like. And so people in a normal society, people end up creating this balance between, you could say, order and improvisation, or order and particularity. And that is what makes traditional cities, like an old medieval town, that's what makes them so beautiful, because they operate on a longer scale in the same way that a good Christmas tree is decorated, which is proposition and then modification, and then someone will add another house, related to the one that's there. And then maybe even that first house at some point will be changed in order to kind of fit or to adapt itself to what is happening, in other places of this city. And so that is why the Christmas tree remains a very nice ritual that you can practice as a family, that you can practice together with your kids to kind of see, you can almost guess what a family's culture is if you could watch them. Probably not just almost, you definitely can guess a family's culture if you watch them decorate a Christmas tree, both in terms of how they interact while they're doing it, and then ultimately the final result at what it would look like. Will it look like something that no one cares about? Will it look like something that is straight out of a magazine, so perfect that it almost doesn't feel like it should be in a home? And then all the way in between that, you'll find a pattern of manifestation. And so your Christmas tree can really be an image of your family and your family's capacity to work together and to also be, let's say, to participate in the celebration of Christmas. And celebration happens that way as well. There's something about celebration which is both a looking up towards the same goal, the same purpose, the thing which unites us, but also the capacity to express some idiosyncrasy together as we're celebrating. And so it really is something like a dance, you know, this ebb and flow between the particularity of the relationship of the dancers, the music and the tempo and the beat, which is imposing a certain order. And in that magic is where you find the world. And so I hope everybody, you all had a Merry Christmas. Christ is born. Glorify him. I wish you also a Happy New Year. I'm looking forward to 2021 despite our fear of what's on the horizon. So thanks, and I'll talk to you very soon.
Hello there. Well, this is Martin Shaw, and I'm afraid whatever you had planned for January, scrap it. I am returning to Symbolic World gleefully with one of the great stories of our time, the Epic of Parzival, the story of the Holy Grail itself. Over 5 nights, I will be telling the tale. These will not be dry lectures or PowerPoint presentations. These will be wild, old, philosophical storytelling in its deepest dimensions. It is life-changing stuff, this story. I've written a book about it. I've been studying it for 20 years. I've told it all over the world, but I have not shared it with you. I've not shared it with Symbolic World. So what else would you want to do in the great wintering time but to sit at the feet of this wonderful story and let me be your guide? I'll see you there.